Probably the most important story that will get zero press coverage. You know it's really important if it gets zero media attention. Operation Kill Switch. If you've been following this channel for a long time, you've heard me talk about what Operation Kill Switch is. It is a program or an attempt by Tom Quiggin and others to sort of stop the government financing of terrorism. Now, here's how this works. Currently, TAG TV is named in this lawsuit. Tahir Gora, who's down there, is also part of it. Here's what you need to know. Okay, there is an organization, a charity in Canada called Islamic Relief Canada. It is part of a larger subsidiary of Islamic Relief Worldwide. Islamic Relief Worldwide is centered in the UK. Now, Islamic Relief Canada and Islamic Relief in general has been identified in the Canadian Senate by expert testimony as a front group for the Muslim Brotherhood. It is. Now, here's the allegations. Islamic Relief Canada sends money to Islamic Relief Worldwide. It's in their contract. It's part of it. In order to use the logo and whatever, you have to send money to the conglomerate. Islamic Relief Worldwide is considered by some governments a terrorist organization, and you can see in their financial records they do finance terrorism. There actually is documents with, we'll go over it all tomorrow, where Islamic Relief Worldwide does send money into the Gaza Strip to actual Hamas operations. So there are Hamas radio station and Hamas propaganda points. They actually do give money directly to Hamas. The United Arab Emirates, they sound quite Islamophobic, I know, but the United Arab Emirates says Islamic Relief Worldwide is a terrorist organization. The government of Israel says Islamic Relief funds Hamas, a terrorist organization. When those two countries agree on something, pay attention. The Muslim majority country of Bangladesh is currently taking on the Rohingya refugees. You might have heard of them. They do not let Islamic Relief Worldwide give them free money to help out in the refugee camps because they fear Islamic radicalization and terrorism. Right? So Bangladesh says no Islamic Relief, they're too terrorist connected. Okay? This is all government data. Canadian Financial Times took Islamic Relief off their charities because of terrorism concerns. HSBC Bank in Switzerland, a Swiss bank, will not take their money because of terrorism concerns. No, UBS in Switzerland. HSBC is a UK bank. They both say no to Islamic Relief because of terrorism concerns. Got those two confused. But still, a Swiss bank, UBS, and a HSBC, right? A lot of major organizations have cut ties with Islamic Relief because of terrorism concerns. Now, this is what Tom Quiggin did. He compiled a database, and I'll post it on the page later, of all the sort of public records of Islamic Relief sending money down a pathway that they know will end up in the hands of terrorists. Okay? That's illegal in Canada. You cannot do it. It's called the Dawson Decision. I can't remember the exact coding of the law, but if you look up Dawson Decision, it's it. In the Dawson Decision, it says you cannot send money to a terrorist organization for like a good cause. This means you cannot give money to Al-Qaeda so they can build a swing set. If you give Al-Qaeda $1 million to build a playground, essentially the ruling in Canada is that's $1 million you've freed up for Al-Qaeda to spend on suicide vests and whatnot. So any money to a terrorism organization, you can't give money to terrorism for a good cause. That's considered funding of terrorism. Now, here's the big thing. The Canadian government has been sending money to Islamic Relief, knowing all this. Justin Trudeau has done videos promoting Islamic Relief. There's only two things he's promoted since he's been in Prime Minister in video. One is the Mohammed Faik, the owner of Paramount Fine Foods, who does give a lot of money to Islamic Relief Worldwide. And two is Islamic Relief Canada. The only two things he's ever promoted, these two things. Now, if you remember Motion 103, M103, the Islamophobia motion, which just got some bad news today as hate crimes across the country have gone down in all categories. Islamophobic hate crimes actually down 50% this year, which is a good thing. But apparently, we're still there's still increasing Islamophobia according to the government. I don't know how decrease means increase, but welcome to the left. Okay, so the allegation is Justin Trudeau, Ahmed Hussein, Chrystia Freeland, Iqra Khalid, Marie-Claude Bibeau, and Omar Al-Ghabra have knowingly used their position in government to send money down a pathway through Islamic Relief Canada to a terrorist organization, that being Hamas. That's a pretty startling accusation. However, if you read the entire document, at no point does Tom Quiggin provide any opinion or new information. He basically compiles all public records. So this claim is made purely off of the internal records of Islamic Relief Canada, Islamic Relief Worldwide, the Canadian federal government, HSBC Bank, UBS Bank, and what all these people have said. There is no commentary, there is nothing to it. It's just basically a compilation of public facts and records sent to the RCMP for investigation. He was then sued by Islamic Relief Canada. There's been a whole thing about it. If you're following the show, you know all about this. Now, the big news is Islamic Relief Canada has decided not to drop the charges. And this is somewhat good news, but it also presents some other worries. Now, what these organizations do, what Islamic Relief likes to do and all these other ones, is they file spurious lawsuits because you have to then get someone to defend yourself. You drain yourself of all this money, and then right before it goes to court, they drop the charges, right? It's called a slap. Now, they didn't drop the charges here. And the reason they dropped the charges is because if they go to court, if they go to trial, they then have to expose their own internal records, and their board members can be put on the stand for cross-examination, which is going to happen. And if they do that, they have to release their public records, and it will show that they are sending money down the pathway that goes towards Hamas, a terrorist organization. This will be a case where we will have to decide, and the Canadian government will, and the court system will decide, there's going to be obvious evidence of terrorism connections and money going towards terrorist groups. There's enough evidence. The evidence is clear. It is out there. There's evidence on all these board members. There's evidence on the organization itself. The question that we're going to have to ask is this too Islamist to fail? Is that the question? Will a judge just rule using some sort of feelings-based precedent that, yes, Islamic Relief might have some shady connections, but hey, they're Muslim, so Tom's guilty? That might be the ruling. That very well might be the ruling. Now, we kind of goaded them into this. They kind of thought by putting the lawsuit on, they'd keep us quiet, then they'd drop it right beforehand, it'd be their sort of slap on the wrist, and then they'd walk out champions. But we kind of pissed them off by doing things like this, and they're going to try and take it to court and they're going to try and beat it. And if you get a left-wing judge in Canada, they might just throw out the law and say, hey, you know what? Islamic Relief wins because Islamophobia or something. And just to be clear, the Canadian government is sending money to this organization. The M103 we just talked about, the Islamophobia motion, Iqra Khalid was put in charge of $23 million to fight Islamophobia. She publicly announced that that money would be going to Islamic Relief. Islamic Relief doesn't even do the fighting Islamophobia thing. It's supposed to be a charity that gives aid money to Hamas. Right? They got Canada's summer jobs grants, right? Again, if you think abortion isn't great, you don't get summer jobs grants. If you think Hamas is great and suicide bombings are great, you could still get summer jobs grants. So the Canadian government has been sending tax dollars to an organization that in our own Senate, there has been expert testimony identifying their link with a radical Islamist organization and a terrorist group. So this is going to be a major landmark case, and I'm going to go into all of this because the Conservatives are not doing us any favors, as Justin Hamish and Andrew Scheer are actually putting out documents to discredit Tom Quiggin, the intelligence expert who put this all forward. Now, Tom is a court-certified expert in terrorism in Canada, which means if Tom Quiggin testifies in a court of law on the subject of terrorism, his testimony is counted as evidence. So this isn't just a baseless accusation from a random dude. This is serious. And we're about to test the bounds of Canadian law. Does free speech beat out concerns of Islamophobia? That will be the absolute litmus test here in Canada.